The first question was, how does one overcome kama, desire, lust? The number of questions are related to this. I will speak about it in this way. Levels of practice. At 4 levels. First of all, the more we are concerned with ourselves, the more we are subjected to our personal whims and desires and ups and downs of the mind. The more we think about the welfare of others, the less the vagaries, the problems of our minds trouble us. Have you noticed, I've often seen, a mother in a busy household has very little of these personal problems because she's got too many of household problems. Because it all depends on her, and she is busy from the morning till night and running around trying to keep the family together, maybe hold a job at the same time, do everything at once. When you're concerned with many other things, especially others, and your personal equation is not there so much, then you will see these desires which tend to pull us down towards the world, they don't function so much. So the first thing is unselfishness. Become immediately concerned with a cause larger than yourself. Volunteer. Do something for others if you have the time and energy. Or make sure that you're working for your organization, for your local religious organization, for the charity, for your family. More and more, others, not me. That's one powerful way. The second way is what we are doing outside, of course. One more thing here. What we are doing in the world, as far as possible, it must be within the limits of ethics and morality. If I continuously do something which my own conscience tells me that it is wrong, you will find that the mind is continuously disturbed. As far as possible, within the limits of dharma, within the limits of morals and ethics. Don't agonize over it, but don't keep on doing something which we would be ashamed to tell others in public. And that basically clean up our own lives. Then spirituality begins. First, moral life, then unselfish life. So unselfish action must be preceded by a basis of morals and ethics. The second thing is, where do our emotions go? Our activities externally are, of course, let us assume we will be as far as possible unselfish and concerned with others, with the welfare of others. Even if there are not many opportunities in our lives to do anything for others, we can at least think well of others. Every time we have a problem, or even if we do not have a problem, when we deal with others, let us be well-wishers for everybody. Now the second thing is, internally our emotions. Love, desire, it's the same force. It has to be turned towards God. A young devotee once I said to Sri Ramakrishna, he was training to be a monk, I don't like the company of women, I dislike women. And he thought Sri Ramakrishna would be pleased. Sri Ramakrishna said, you are a fool. Turn desire towards God. That is not the way to deal with lust, with desire. The way to deal with lust or desire is to turn it towards God. It's a very important point to learn. It is the same force which says, I want the world. The same I want. Let the I want remain and remove the world and put God in its place. It's the same I want God, it's the same I want, the same force, the same desire. Positively, it must be channelized somewhere. And of course, there are many, many ways of doing this. Worship is one way. Have a little ritual in your life. And it must be a ritual with life, not a lifeless ritual. That's the problem about rituals. It comes from maybe a small ritual, maybe a little incense, maybe a little prayer that you start with the day with and end the day with. Up to you. Use music, ritual, music, prayer, whatever appeals to you in your format, in the form in which you love and adore God. So, learn some of the prayers. A prayer coming from the heart in your own language is best, but also some of the prayers in different religions. Sri Ramakrishna would teach the young people who would come to him to how do you pray to the Divine Mother? O Mother, I do not want anything in this world, neither wealth, nor fame, nor success. O Mother, keep my mind pure. Let me want only Thee. Let me have love only for Thee. Let me not be trapped in your Maya. Let me have pure devotion at the feet of the Lord. And he would, while praying, teaching others to pray, he would actually cry himself. His face would be wet with tears. It was a powerful experience for those who saw him. So love of God, channelize love towards God, channelize desire towards God in whichever form you have. If you have a faith in God in some way, and most of us here do, then you are lucky. If you are a dry jnani, then this is one thing. Don't be too proud of yourself. I don't believe in those guys that, well, it's your loss. It's a great power. Often you see, in the path of knowledge in Vedanta, a weakness is that why devotion is prescribed. I remember hearing a great Vedanta teacher saying that for those who are on the path of knowledge, the path of bhakti, of devotion, is very useful for them. It's very necessary. Why? The reason is, I may understand what we just did at the meditation before this. I am the bare awareness. And mind plays its thoughts. The waking, dreaming, and deep sleep come and go. So that means all my desires, my troubles, my guilt, my jealousy, all is in the mind. I am the witness of it. Now, it's logical to say this, rational to say this. You may even accept it. But you will see it's not very effective in day-to-day life. The reason is this. When the mind is impure, when it is full of this kind of turbulence, the intellect may understand something, but the lower mind does not accept it. So the lower mind goes in its own way, and the intellect goes in another way. And you have this conflict. Vedanta tells you what it is, what this world is, what we are. But there it stops. But what about the mind which has been conditioned deeply for years and years, maybe lifetimes? So devotion works at that level. Emotion. Devotion works at the level of the heart of emotion. It replaces negative, worldly tendencies with divine tendencies. That's why the path of devotion is very useful for somebody on the path of knowledge. The contrary may not be true. For those who are on a devotional path, it may not be particularly necessary to practice separately the path of knowledge. So anyway, this is the second thing, that learn to channelize your devotion, love towards the divine more and more. Does that mean you will not love human beings? Does that mean you will not love the dog? Yesterday I was walking in Central Park and I saw this lady. It was admittedly a very cute dog. But this lady was fussing so much over it, and she had a professional photographer photographing her in different poses in front of the lake and the fountain and the different places. So does it mean I cannot love the dog or love people in the world? You can, but it's by seeing divinity in all of them. My love goes to God in all of these forms. I am not attached to the particular form. So that is the second one, bhakti. The first was unselfishness. Second is devotion, love of God. Third, thoughts of God, emotion directed to God. See, the person, your thoughts will go where you love. What we love, we tend to think about that. So, where your treasure is, there your heart will be. What you value, that you will love. What you love, that you will think of. Where your heart is, there your mind will be. We should add that too. So fill the mind with thoughts of God. the stories and the prayers and we have the photographs and the images, whatever. Yeah. This is the second one. The third one is even thoughts of God, even devotion to God, even love of God. That also has to be stopped and abandoned for at least once or twice in a day, where you make the mind absolutely calm. Not even good thoughts, let alone worldly thoughts, disturbing thoughts, turbulent thoughts, let alone those are gone, replaced by good ones. Now, twice a day at least, in meditation, in calmness, in quietness, in serenity. Just because we have a mind, does it mean we have to keep thinking? Just because you have legs, you don't have to keep running. Just because you have hands, you don't have to keep grasping things. I remember seeing that Modern Life, Charlie Chaplin movie, in which, Modern Times, he works in a factory, an assembly line, and Charlie Chaplin, his whole job throughout the day is to tighten a couple of screws. He has these wrenches and he does this. And for hour after hour after hour, he does this. Things keep coming in front of him, those assemblies, and he just tightens a couple of screws. And when the break comes, lunch break, he can't stop doing this. He's walking around. And the foreman comes and scolds him. I think it was a silent movie with background music. The foreman comes and yells at him. This big guy, comes and yells at him. Stop doing that. You can feel that he's saying that. You stop doing that. And what Charlie Chaplin does is he wrenches the nose of the foreman. He does like that. But we have become like that because we have the mind which is thinking all the time. The moment you wake up, worries. I have to do this, I have to catch the bus and or the subway, go to my job. Oh, this is not done, that is not done. The groceries, the dishes have to be cleaned and this and that. It's the mind chattering away. This. Why do you have to do that? Mind, they say, is a good servant, a very bad master. And when it becomes pathological, we are mostly on the verge of, on the borderlines of pathology. But then it becomes pathological. When you see, somebody pointed out, when people commit suicide and shoot themselves, they shoot themselves here. Make it stop. Yes, just like an instrument, just because I have a pen doesn't mean I'll keep writing. You put it down sometimes, put the mind down sometimes. So twice a day, I can exist without the mind. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Meditation techniques, there are a wealth of meditation techniques. But don't keep changing your technique. That's also the mind. Try this, try this, try this. You want to make me quiet? Okay, try this method. Not working, try this other method. It's still the mind. So pick a method. And many of us, we have been initiated with the mantra, nothing like it, because the mantra replaces every other thought. Every other thought of the mind is replaced with the mantra. Every thought is replaced? No. The mantra. Mantra is basically a name of God with some mystical syllables. Tell me one thing, those who have been initiated by the mantra. Of all the thousands of thoughts we have in a day, somebody said we have 16,000 thoughts in a day, in your waking life. Of all the thousands of thoughts we have in a day, how many of them are more important than the mantra? How many are more important? If you just sit, this thought and mantra. Almost none. Almost none. Such a waste of mental energy. Chattering away, hour after hour, day after day, month after month, year after year. Replace it with something that will give permanent peace and joy and elevation and nobility to the mind. There are very few times when you actually need to think. Other things in the world, they demand your attention. Think, do it, finished, replace it with the mantra. Stay with the mantra. It's your best friend in the world. So meditation. It could be mantra meditation, it could be anything else. It could be, if you don't like all of that, it could be a neutral, follow the breath meditation and awareness. That is the third one. If you're worried, what were the first two? Don't worry, I'll summarize at the end. And the last one is, even in meditation, in the quietness of meditation, if that is spiritual, Then the other times when the mind is thinking and chattering and you're engaged in the world, then that will be not spiritual. You have divided your life into quiet time, spiritual time, meditation time, that's one, and the non-meditation time, the non-quiet time. That is also not the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is that we are this ever silent, ever peaceful, ever desire-free consciousness. Realize that as your own identity. And after that, the body and mind can go and do their thing. You are not touched by it. You are ever at peace. So these are the 4 things I suggest. Unselfishness, more concerned with others than yourself. It helps you to overcome the base tendencies of the mind. Second, directing desires towards God. Remember, where your treasure is, what your heart will be. What you value, that you will love. What you love, that you will think of. So love God. Value God, love God. And the wide range of techniques are there in the path of love. I don't like the word technique. Technique and spirituality sometimes is a sense of doing something clever. Sri Ramakrishna would never speak in that way. He would just say, if you have an intense yearning, that's all you need. Vyakulata, he said, intense yearning. That sincerity, that itself is the most important thing. Then so the second thing is love of God. Replace love of the world with love of God. The third thing is quiet time, morning and evening. Stop the chatter of the mind. Meditation, daily meditation, whatever form you have got. If you've got mantra meditation, nothing like it. And the last one is reality orientation. What am I? When I truly discover what I am, then I will automatically, forever, be free from the troubles of the mind, the desires which pulled me worldwide towards the world. Those who have been listening closely, you'll see that, oh Swami, all that you said was karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga and jnana yoga. Of course. How do we know that we are progressing? Sri Ramakrishna said, yearning for God increases and this passion, disregard for the world increases. Vishaya birag, ishwarya anurag in Bengali. This passion for the world and a pull, Godward pull. God becomes more real. If you don't like the God talk, then this idea that I am the witness consciousness, I am the ever pure awareness, unchanging. That becomes not just like a slogan, like a few words or a few memorized verses. It's a fact. And you take more and more delight in it. And we are all about how to stabilize myself in that, how to know more about that. So that's a sign of progress. And the last question was, how do I reconcile activity, ambition in the world with God realization, with spirituality? You cannot reconcile worldliness with spirituality. God and mammon, the two do not go together. But what you can do is spiritualize your worldly activity. Remember, the prince, Arjuna, he wanted to give up worldliness and become spiritual. And Sri Krishna told him, yes, you can, but what is in front of you, the duty that you have to do, spiritualize that. You don't have to abandon everything and go away and sit in a cave, in a mountain cave. It's not possible, not desirable. Whatever we are doing, do unto God. So instead of saying, I'm climbing the corporate ladder out of my personal ambition, won't work. If you can give up that ambition and spiritualize that work, good. If the ambition is strong within you, and yet spirituality is also, the desire for spiritual growth and development is strong, that also can happen, then offer that ambition unto the Lord. It is all mental forces are the forces of God. It's a divine mother, Shakti. Connect it with God. Is one thing. If it is not absolutely immoral, if it is, you might say it's worldly. All right, if it's worldly, but if you connect it with God, it becomes spiritualized. I am doing this work. I would like to climb the corporate ladder, but I offer the whole thing unto you, my Lord. You have put me in this place. Let me see. You will see slowly the worldliness will go out of it, and divinization of spirituality, an expansion will occur there. It will occur automatically. It might seem funny to you, I'll say this, and it's not politically correct also today, because smoking has gone out of... People may all sorts of problems may be there, but smoking is very bad. So, it's all over in corporate offices, airports, everywhere. But at one time it was very common. I remember I was on a tour of NASA in Houston, a tourist. So I was interested in the space race and all of that. So somebody took me for a guided tour of NASA in Houston. And we went to Mission Control, where the moon missions were controlled from. And it's historical. It's a museum now. You can go and sit there. You can sit there, and actually the seats which were used by in the viewing gallery. And every seat has a little box here, and slightly... Yeah, the older people here know what it is. Younger people don't know what it is. And the tour guide said, if you are wondering about that curious contraption on the side of your chair, every chair has it. That's an ashtray, a remnant of an older age. And he says, I remember when this was really mission control, and space missions were being controlled from here, and the whole room would be full of cigarette smoke for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days. Okay, why am I saying this? There was this wonderful old swami who used to smoke cigarettes. And the story is very cute here. Another swami noticed that he was nearly in his 80s, this old swami. He was a disciple of Swami Shivananda Mahapurush Maharaj. He was an Irishman. He would smoke a cigarette and put it out and keep it there, and later light it up again and smoke it again. There's a little stub. Then this other Swami said, don't do that. We can just throw it away. We'll get a new packet for you. You can smoke new cigarettes. And the old Swami said, no, I can't throw it away. It is the prasad of Vivekananda. What do you mean? He says, I offer it. It's a lifelong practice. I offer it to Vivekananda. And I imagine he smokes it first and gives it to me. So now you may find it's no longer politically correct to talk about smoking, I guess. But you see the mentality. Even something that you might consider a worldly weakness, it's connected to God. There was Girish Ghosh, Kalipada Ghosh. They were addicted. They were alcoholics, almost. There's a story of Kalipada Ghosh, how long before he became a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, his young wife, harassed and troubled, she heard there's a great sadhu in Dakshineshwar. So she came to Sri Ramakrishna, this young girl, and said, my husband he neglects me, wastes money at home, and he drinks, and I don't know what to do about him. She burst into tears. Can you help me? And Sri Ramakrishna said he would never get involved in these worldly things, like cure my disease, get me a job, and things like that. He said, no, I don't do these things. And she kept on importuning him. Then he said, well, in that room across there's a lady who can help you, not me. He meant the Holy Mother. Go there. And so he got rid of her. So she went there and went to the Holy Mother, who was embarrassed. She said, no, I'm nothing. It's all that is there. That's him. He is. You have to ask him. I can't do anything. I'm just an ordinary woman. Then this poor girl, what could she do? She went back to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna said, no, she's just putting you off. I don't do these things. Go back to her. So she went back. And once or twice like that, when she went back and forth, but you see, here's the difference. She has a mother's heart, the Holy Mother. And she finally said, all right, my daughter, come. And she offered some flowers to the picture of Sri Ramakrishna in the puja, and she gave her the young girl something and said, take this and take the name, repeat a mantra, your husband will be all right. And the girl went back with faith. And nothing happened. Things continued the way they did. But 12 years later, Kalipada Ghosh, who was a friend of Girish Ghosh, another the great dramatist, but who was also addicted to drink, and they were good friends. So Girish Ghosh brought Kalipada Ghosh to meet Sri Ramakrishna. And so Kalipada Ghosh, he was slightly inebriated that day also. He stumbles into Sri Ramakrishna's room. And many people are there. And Sri Ramakrishna, who had never seen Kalipada Ghosh, he had just seen his wife 12 years ago, just for a few minutes. As Kalipada Ghosh stumbles into the room, walks into the room, Sri Ramakrishna says, "Look, there he has come. He has harassed his wife the last 12 years. Nobody understood what he is speaking about. It's only made sense much later when the whole story came out. And there's a very beautiful story which goes on, how Kalipada Ghosh says, what do you want? Sri Ramakrishna asked him, and Kalipada Ghosh says, "Do you have something to drink?" And Sri Ramakrishna says, "Yes, I have, but if you take mine, what I'll give you, then you will lose the taste for all other kind of drink. It's so powerful." And Kalipada Ghosh is puzzled. Is it Indian or British? And Sri Ramakrishna says, and people around were furious because of this. They didn't understand what was going on. But actually, the subtext of this, Sri Ramakrishna understands, and Kalipada somewhere deep inside his heart, because he's also suffering, he understands. And Sri Ramakrishna says, "No, it's entirely Indian. But if you take it, that's it. You will forget everything else." And so it's such a powerful drink. And Kalipada Ghosh, in tears, he folds his hands and he says, "Give me of thine drink. That's what I want, Master." And so he becomes a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. And there's that beautiful incident that a few days later, he keeps coming to Sri Ramakrishna, very touching incident, that he was a rich man. One day Sri Ramakrishna is getting ready to go to Calcutta on his horse buggy. But Kalipada Ghosh comes across the river Ganga, and he has come with his boat. And he says, "Come with me, I'll take you across the river to Calcutta." And Sri Ramakrishna, not suspecting anything, like a child, he says, "All right." He gets into the boat, and Kalipada asks the boat to be launched, and they go across. Then in the middle of the river, Kalipada Ghosh orders the boat to be stopped. And then he goes and falls at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna and catches hold of his feet. And he says, "Have grace upon me, Master. Bless me." And Sri Ramakrishna is flustered. "What's this? Start the boat. What's going on?" He said, "No, until you bless me, we will not go any further. We'll stay here in the middle of the river." He said, "Bless you with what?" "You have to bless me." And then Sri Ramakrishna initiates him, gives him a mantra there. Imagine Sri Ramakrishna, avatar and incarnation, gives you a mantra there. And Kalipada Ghosh says, "No, that's not enough. You have to bless me." And Sri Ramakrishna says, "All right. You don't even have to repeat the mantra. It'll do its own work. It'll work by itself. So now let's go." And Kalipada Ghosh says, "No. You have to bless me." And Sri Ramakrishna is at his wit's end. He says, "What more do you want? What is it that you want?" And finally Kalipada Ghosh says what is in his mind. He says, "The day I die, at that time," and he describes it so vividly, and it all came out true later on. He must have seen a dream or something like that. Otherwise, how can I describe this? He says, "The day I die, at that moment I die, at that time, I will see darkness. All my relatives will be gone, and I will be alone and dying. I shall see darkness. At that moment, I want you to promise that you will come for me. You will have you will have a light in one hand, and in the other hand, you will take my hand and guide me through the darkness. Tell me you will do that." So such a vivid description. I think he must have had some kind of particular dream. So "Tell me you will do. I want a promise from you." And Sri Ramakrishna says, "Oh, all right, that will happen." He said, that's all right, let's go. And so they start. And then he became such a close devotee. He helped Sri Ramakrishna passed away in 1886. But Kalipada Ghosh helped the new monastic order, helped Vivekananda and many others when they were struggling. And at the end of his life, there's a beautiful description. He was surrounded by relatives in his Calcutta home. And he had a picture of Sri Ramakrishna and a big picture and all of that. But at that time, I think it was Latu Maharaj who was visiting probably. One of the disciples of a monk. And the relatives, thinking that the swami has come, they wanted to take a break from nursing their dying relative. And so they went And at that moment, nobody was there except the Swami. And suddenly, Kalipada Ghosh spoke out his last words. Master, you have come. You did not forget. You did not forget me. You have come. And can't you see that he has come? Put out a seat for the master. He has come. And he passed away. Anyway, I told you the story at length because it's such a beautiful story. But devotion to God, it can replace. Connect whatever you're doing, even a worldly weakness. Try it. Connect it with God. Not in order to indulge, in order to transcend it. And they all transcended. Kalipada Ghosh, Girish Ghosh, they all... There is a very minor thing, overcoming their drinking problem, transcending it. But it worked.